it's Jo from Minerva. Today we're going to do a sew along of a pair of trousers from Burda 7062. Burda 7062 is a really simple trouser pattern. If you've not made trousers before, it's a really good place to start. There's no waistband or pockets or yoke or fly. It's just a real simple pair of cigarette style pants. They're an ankle length and they have a facing around the waistband, which means that you can fit the sides and fit the darts and then put the facing on to match. This video would work really nicely with the trouser fitting video that I made, where I used the tissue pieces from this pattern to describe some different trouser fitting that you can try. Trouser fitting is tricky, but once you've taken quite a few measurements of yourself and you've had a go at the tissue fit, you'll see how you can change the shape of a pattern to fit your body. The fabric that I'm using today is a crepe, and a crepe is a synthetic fabric which is normally made of polyester, and it doesn't crease very much, so it's really great for trousers, especially if you're sitting down in an office job or you're working in your trousers and you're sitting down a lot. You don't get those crease lines along your groin. This is a really nice sort of navy, quite a dark navy, and there's a little bit of give in the cross grain, and here's the selvage look. So in that direction it's really firm, but if you can find a fabric with a little give in the cross grain, that's really useful when you're making trousers. There's not many other supplies you need for this pattern. You need your fabric, a zip for the side where the zip goes, it's a side opening pair of trousers, and some interfacing to put around the facing waistband. All the products to make these trousers are listed below. If you hover over them, they can go into your basket and you can delete or add as necessary. I'm not cutting out today because it's really simple. There are 2 front pieces, 2 back pieces and the facing pieces. So let's get started and sew. I've done most of my fitting with a tissue fit, but I will also be trying my trousers on quite a lot while I'm making them, and that's quite an important thing about making trousers. You can't just make them and go ta-da and try them on at the end. You need to keep trying them on as you're making them so that you can get the hip and waist fit as you would want them. The pattern starts with making darts. So I've got my darts marked on there. I used a tracing wheel and some carbon paper. It's quite a dark fabric, but you can use tailor's tacks. And I'm going to pinch together the dart legs and pin those in place, and I'm going to sew from the wide end of the dart to the narrow end and make sure that that goes gently off the fabric. If you scoot off, you'll get 2 little puckers at the front of your trousers. You need to press these darts out, and you press them towards the hip side of your trousers and make sure that's really nice and smooth. Now this is a crepe, so I'm going to turn my iron down, and I'm also going to use a press cloth. Next we're going to put the front pant piece on top of the back pant piece, and I've left the tails on here so that you can see they don't match up because the front crotch is shorter than the back crotch. So we're going to put a back piece right sides together with a front piece and then pin down the side seam. There is a place to stop at the bottom because the bottom has a little split on the hem, so don't sew all the way to the end. Make sure that you've marked, I had a chalk mark on mine, where to stop, and I like to put in 2 pins, and that reminds me to stop at that point. On the left hand side of your trousers you will need to also stop at a point to insert the zip, so check out your pattern piece and make sure that on the left side you've got your seam open to put your zip in. And press seams open. Next it says to insert the zip. The zip isn't an invisible zip on this pattern, it is a little dress zip, so that means that the zipper handle is on the same side as the teeth and you can see all of the teeth. It doesn't actually say how to put it in, it says insert the zip. So I'm going to show you how to do that. So the first thing to do is to put your machine on a really long stitch, like stitch length 4, like you would for gathering, and sew up the side seam. So where your last of your side seam stitching is, which is here, I want you to sew from top to bottom with a long gathering stitch. This is going to be temporary and we're going to pull it out afterwards. So I've joined up my just long stitch here, and it's just holding the fabric together, and I've pressed it so it's really nice and smooth. So from the right side it should just look like a seamless line. And I'm going to put the zipper with the teeth facing down on top of that seam and pin it in place. And I shall be making sure that the zipper teeth are lined up centrally over that temporary stitch line that I've just made. You need to make sure that the bottom goes to your seam line and the top finishes 1.5 from the top to allow for adding the facing. Once you've pinned your zip in place, you then are going to tack it in place with a different coloured thread, so that when you've got it under the machine it's all secure, the seam won't blow out and reveal your zip teeth because that's temporary machine stitched, and the back won't slide from left to right because you're going to tack it here. When you've got it tacked in, now you can take it under the machine and sew either side of your temporary stitch line, and then you can remove that stitch line and your tacking, and your zip will be in place first time. Next, once you've got your zip in, you're then going to sew the inside leg. This doesn't have a slit or anything because the slit at the cuffs is on the outside of your leg. So the inside leg just needs to be matched up. There are some notches to just get your one leg eased into another. Sew the inside seam and press open. These trousers have a crease down the front, and this is how you do it. With the trousers the right way out, you're going to put each leg flat so that the side seam is matching the side seam on the reverse. So I'm going to make it so that your side seams are running alongside each other. So underneath there is the other side seam. You can put a little pin in place just to hold it, and then we can take this over to the ironing board and put a steam press down the front of the trousers. Actually, that's that side. So here's the front, and I'm going to have a press down here. Now, if you've got a dart in the front, then your front press should join up with your butt dart. I haven't got a dart in the front because I needed to make a waist adjustment. My waist was a little bit more square than the pattern suggested, so I don't have a front dart. But if you have a front dart here, then your crease should run from the tip of your dart. With your trouser legs, one wrong side out, so this is the wrong side out, and this one is the right side out, and you're going to put one leg inside another leg so that the inside leg seams match, and at the centre crotch you're going to hold your seam allowances open and pin this in place. You'll know you've got it right because the front crotch will now match with the front crotch, and the back crotch will now match the length of the back crotch. Going to pin and sew all the way from the waist through the crotch and back up to the front waist. It is absolutely crucial now that you try your trousers on, because once you've put the waistband facing on, you can't change any parts of the pattern, because you can't change any of the seam allowances, because you will have sealed them all down with a facing. So let's take a look at them. When I put them on, they are a little bit big, but remember I am having the ease of the cross grain here, so when I put the facing on I will have locked that. So I don't want to make them too tight at this stage, but I do need them to be a little bit snugger. Now the back actually feels really nice. The darts feel like they're in the right place. The side seams are running perpendicular down to the floor, but I'm feeling like I'm getting a bit too much space here, and actually I did take the darts out of the front section because I didn't feel like I needed them at the time off the tissue fit, but now I've made them in the fabric, I'd like to put those darts back in. Second try on, I put my darts in the right position so they blend into the front creases. I haven't pressed them out yet, but that's a much better fit, and when I put my facing on it will really strengthen and shore that up. Now it's time to put the facings on the top of your trousers. Now I've made a few little alterations, so I have changed the circumference of that waist now, so I'm not just going to go ahead and sew that at a 1.5 seam allowance. I'm just going to match it up to the top of the trousers, just have a little measure and see if I need to adjust this seam at all. I need enough facing to turn under at the end so that I can make a neat finish around my zip. So that's how you put the facing on the inside of your trousers. Lastly, we're going to hem the bottoms of our trousers, and we're just going to look at how to put that slit, which is a little feature on the ankle. The slit has been pressed, matching the width of the seam allowance, and we're going to use that notch to turn up the slit, and it will go past where you've finished your seam. Same for the other side. and you should have the same markings on the other side. I'm going to cut into the seam allowance here just to help that kink up so I don't get a little bubble on my hem. Keep the seam allowances open so that it's all nice and flat, and pin in place. Your crease line should be matching up. We can give that hem a press. Just check that those are the same length, just as we need to. And then we're going to hand stitch the hems down. Now, if you top stitched, you can do that, but you would have a line quite high up on the bottom of your trousers, and that could be a feature. But if you want them to look quite smart, then you could hand sew them. If you're going to make them in a more casual fabric, then you could top stitch. Okay, here are the trousers finished. Really good fit. My side seams are running down the side. My facing isn't rolling out to the front because I understitched it. Got a really smooth side zip. Nice fit on the back, nothing too baggy here or pulling under my crotch. So if you've got this problem, then that's a different fitting issue to sort out. And the pleats down the front. A really great pair of work trousers. I hope that's helped you get started on maybe your first trouser fitting or making trousers for a different occasion, work or casual. Thank you very much for watching.